is who is Cirrus Networks, right? Because a lot of people, we get the overviews and, and it's great and understanding, how blockchain works and, all these different things. But, a lot of times we're just kind of, hearing rumors. Okay, well, Bob was this and Craig was that, and maybe Kat was involved in some things. And so I wanted to just kind of tie it all together and really understand what Cirrus Networks is or who they are, and their relationship with Gnodi and with so Cirrus, and then Block Rain, the parent company, and then how to participate. Right? There's basically 3 ways to participate with Cirrus. So let's go ahead and dive into this. Always got to start with our disclaimer. We're not promising anything, no guarantees, right? Everything is subject to, your own effort and your own talent and potential, but there's no promise of any kind of passive income or anything like that. So just know as we talk about these things. So the first component to all of this is the Gnodi blockchain. Okay, that is the infrastructure. That is the first piece of all of this. And it's really important to understand that, without infrastructure, we have nothing, right? And so this, you could think of it kind of as the product, the service, this is what we represent, okay? And it's redefining digital ownership. That's what blockchain does. That is why we're so excited about this. And it really is the future of a transparent and decentralized internet, okay? And one of the cool things about it is that their defining feature is that it's a community-driven model, okay? And so unlike other tech monopolies that make decisions behind closed doors, Gnodi operates as what we call a decentralized autonomous organization, or a DAO. So there's no owners, there's no potential bad actors, completely global from the start, providing Web3 infrastructure for decentralized services. Everything from healthcare, supply chain, finance, even government, all those things can happen on a blockchain. But a blockchain requires 2 things. First, you have to have the actual nodes for the ledger, right? This is what generates or powers the blockchain. And then you have to have rewards for the incentive, right? Those 2 things, that's really what makes it work. So the nodes, you could think of them as like power lines that connect everything. And the Gnodi reward token is kind of like the electricity flowing through those power lines, right? It's a good way to think of it. Now, Gnodi is more than just a blockchain. It's a movement toward a fairer, more transparent digital economy where users actively participate in the governance, they benefit from AI-driven automation, and they can engage in a secure community-led environment, okay? So, pretty cool. So now we're going to understand part 2 of this, which is Block Rain. Okay, so Block Rain is parent company, and this is where these contracts and third-party services and everything, this is where they exist, right? They bring them to the table. So companies and individuals want to take advantage of that blockchain I just mentioned, right? They want to be able to take advantage of connecting their products and services to this fully deployed layer 1 Gnodi blockchain. This allows these businesses to reward their customers in crypto for interaction and participation, giving companies a significant competitive edge, right? That's the whole point, is how do we recruit, how do we get more people, and how do we retain those people once we get them, right, on the different thing. And that's our model, okay, is having good products at better pricing and rewarding people on it for their loyalty. And Block Rain innovates by empowering these businesses and service providers, right, and even individuals to connect their products and services to a blockchain technology, turning everyday use into crypto rewards. Now, the person that's in charge of Block Rain is Kat Bonar. So she's the CEO, and she's a seasoned leader. She's an innovator. She's a strategist with more than 2 decades of experience across healthcare, FDA-regulated devices, and Web3. Her background includes serving as a key member of the executive team during the NASDAQ listing of a regulated healthcare company, and architecting compliance and governance programs for wallets, for staking, for token distribution, for DAOs, and decentralized platforms. So she has led global training for more than 5,000 providers and sales representatives. So amazing, amazing person. And she's in charge of the parent company called BlockRain. Now, the third component is what we call Cirrus Networks. Okay. So Cirrus Networks is all about building the community, because it's one thing to have the infrastructure, right? And having let's use the analogy of the trains and the rails, right? You lay down the rails, or you put down the pipeline, or you put in the electricity, or all these different things. But if you don't have users, if you don't have people, right, you don't have a community using them, then it does no good. So node owners and participants are part of the Gnodi community, and that's great. However, through Cirrus, there's an additional level of participation. Okay, so but all of us as node owners, we're part of the Gnodi blockchain, that community, automatically. But optionally, people can be part of Cirrus, and by sharing the message of blockchain as an associate, members can now earn extra rewards and even commissions. Okay, so as more people are involved, the blockchain becomes more and more robust, and the rewards become more valuable, right? More people, more value. So through Cirrus, we're helping to grow that community, and we are rewarded for our influence. Okay, so who's in charge of Cirrus? Well, we have our amazing leader, Mr. Craig Pickering, is the CEO, and you can go read all about him at his website. He has a website, thecraigpickering.com, right? That's where I pulled this information from. So Craig, back in 1996 in Utah, he co-founded a fast-growing internet technology company that was acquired by the largest U.S. telecommunications firm back in that time at an equivalent $1.4 billion deal. Wow, right? That's inflation adjusted. He also co-developed Parkway Crossing, the largest privately owned student housing project in the Western United States at the time. And he founded C&D Food Group with multiple franchise restaurants. And in 2011, Craig co-founded RX International, growing it globally before its $300 million sale in 2021. He later led a major Bitcoin mining operation, and now he advances blockchain with Cirrus Networks and Gnodi. So pretty amazing guy. The other individual who's heading this whole thing is Mr. Bob Steed. He's the CMO. Now, Bob is a successful entrepreneur who launched New Ways International nearly 3 decades ago. Peaking at $1 billion per year, Bob literally grew up in the industry. From entry level as a young man to eventual CEO and president, he has logged hundreds of thousands of miles. He's lived abroad and has touched every continent on his way to the top. He also wrote a book called Whose Ladder Are You Climbing? It became a 2004 bestseller. Okay, so it's like a triangle, right? They all feed each other. So we have BlockRain, which is the provider. We have Gnodi, which is the infrastructure. And then we have Cirrus Networks, which is the marketing arm. Okay, so we have decentralization and tokenization that are happening all across the world, whether we like it or not, right? It's going, it's happening. So the Gnodi blockchain is one of many, right? But it's the first to bring this awesome power to the masses. That's the big difference. All the other blockchain projects out there, they're great and they do amazing things, and they're all very successful in their own right, but they're all kind of pie in the sky, right? They're all dealing with great big giant projects and different things, and tokenization of different things from oil to gold and silver, whatever. And that's awesome, but it doesn't really translate to the average individual. It doesn't really translate into the everyday person, right? Where Gnodi is doing that. Gnodi is the first blockchain for the people, you could say, okay? Where it brings the everyday products that everyone uses into blockchain technology. So BlockRain and Gnodi together, they need to grow the community. They need to bring in users. They need to bring in customers that are going to be using the different products and services, right? And we, as representatives at Cirrus Networks, we can be rewarded for sharing the message of decentralization. Okay, so that's how it works. They're all tied together in this triangle. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about the three ways that we can participate. So the first way is through ownership, okay, which means purchasing nodes. And by purchasing nodes, we're getting daily rewards. The second way that we can participate is through participation, meaning we use the services, okay? So we have the different services and we're getting rewards for our activity, for doing the different things, whether it's hosting a meeting on Meeting, right? Or once we have our new products with the card and going out to eat dinner and getting rewarded for our purchase. Okay. The third way to be involved is through promotion. Now we can go out and we can share the story and earn commissions. Okay. And there is a potential fourth way that I'm not going to dive into today, but we all have heard that Blockchain, the parent company, is going to go through a public offering and be listed on a stock exchange. And so there's potential for having some ownership, purchasing some stock and all that. We have zero details on that, so we're not going to talk about it a lot, but that's a potential fourth way in the future. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about ownership. And I love the examples, right? That we've heard a gazillion times about the goose that lays the golden eggs, and we want to prefer to own the goose over purchasing eggs. Okay, and this is the first and easiest example. Do we want to buy the eggs or do we want to buy the chicken? Do we want to buy the apples or do we want to have the orchard, right? Do we want to buy the milk or would we rather have the cow? Would we rather buy the corn or have the cornfield, right? If you build it, they will come. So that's the idea here is with ownership, you now have an asset that is producing for you, right? And you don't have to worry about whether the asset is going up or down in value. You have more every single day. It continues to reward you daily basis, right? That's what the blockchain is programmed to do. And so it's awesome. And I love, Bob gave the example the other day of the magic piggy bank that, you empty out your piggy bank, you need some money for something, and then the next morning, all of a sudden it's full again, right? And that's kind of the similar situation with our nodes and other things we're doing is it replenishes every single day, which is awesome. Okay, that's one example. Another example that we all love is the idea of the railroads and the rails, right? So back in the 1800s, what happened? The railroad tycoons, right? They put in all the money. They paid for the tracks to be laid all across the country, right? From the 1850s all the way to the 1870s when they did the first actual complete, the Golden Spike here in Utah. Where we're at, we actually visited that this last summer. We went and saw where the two trains meet up, and it's pretty cool. And they drove in the Golden Spike, where they had the two rails coming from the west to the east, and then from the east to the west, and they met up and completed that. It was a big deal. Well, those guys made all the money, right? Because a percentage of every train ticket sold after that went back to them. So they did they built the infrastructure. So then they got to have that percentage forever after. Okay. The other example I like is the idea of a toll bridge. Okay. So, we went to San Francisco probably about 10 years ago. And, we love going to the Muir Woods, right? And we saw the redwood trees, the giant redwood trees and everything. I love that. I remember watching Return of the Jedi, Star Wars Return of the Jedi, and where the Ewoks and the big redwood trees and stuff. And so I always wanted to go and see those redwood trees. So 10 years ago, we did. We went and saw the Muir Woods and we saw the redwood trees. And then right there is the Golden Gate Bridge. And we decided, we're going to drive across the Golden Gate Bridge. Well, little did I know that I was going to have to pay to do that. And guess what? 3 weeks later, after we got home, I got a bill in the mail. It said, hey, you drove across the Golden Gate Bridge. So guess what? You owe money, right? You owe us money. You drove across. I was like, oh my gosh. So anyway, that is the same concept, right? Is we purchase nodes, we have ownership, and guess what? We're now able to collect on that in a way, right? Because as people use the blockchain, as companies and businesses and other things come in and use it, and there's utility of the blockchain, well, as an owner, we now get a piece of that, right? We get rewarded for having put in the infrastructure. Okay, so pretty fun. All right, then the next one I like is, this is also another personal example, the internet and the HOA is what I like to call it. So when we were first married, we were living in a condo that had an HOA, right? Homeowners Association. And there, back then, there wasn't a lot of high-speed internet around, right? We were happened to use dial-up internet. It was crazy. And so I, said, well, no, I want high-speed internet. I want something. And so we started looking around for different providers, and we contacted one that said, well, we're not in your area, but if you guys are willing to pay for the infrastructure, right, to put in the cables and the antennas and all the other things that we got to do, then we'll come, right? We'll come to your area. And so we took some budget from the HOA we had, and we said, yeah, okay, that makes sense, because they were going to do a revenue sharing program with us, where they said, you guys pay for it, we'll come, and not only will we come, but we'll also share a percentage of the monthly subscribers in that area for forever, right? Well, we did it. We paid for it. They came. We got everybody, all the condos, everybody living there, signed up for it because they wanted it, right? It was a good deal. It only took 18 months to make our money back. And then after that, it was just pure revenue for the HOA. Really, really good decision that we made, right? So yeah, similar kind of thing, right? We buy our nodes so that they will come, and then forever after, we're getting rewarded. Okay, here's another one that I love, is the what if scenario with Costco, right? And this isn't real. I'm not saying that Costco is going to do this, right? Or that they would, but let's just put this out there as an example. What if Costco came to your town, okay, to open up a new warehouse? And they said that if you go out and you start spreading the word about Costco membership with your friends and neighbors, that you would earn a percentage of everything that they bought at that Costco for the rest of your life. How many people would you go talk to? Right? Just think about that. Okay. Yeah. Oh my goodness. I'd go knock on every single door. Like, hey, did you know Costco's coming? Hey, you should get a membership. Hey, come in. Because then every time they went to Costco, you were getting a little percentage of that. That'd be pretty amazing, right? Well, that's what we get for having ownership. Okay. All right. So let's talk about now participation. Okay. So maybe people, for whatever reason, they can't afford it. They're just not ready yet. They don't, they're not interested in getting a node yet and having some ownership, but they want to participate, right? They want to use the services. They want to use the platform. So what makes Cirrus even more amazing than every other blockchain project out there is the fact that you can now create value in the network and earn rewards through simple participation. Okay, so this is done through something we call X1 micronodes, which are the SaaS services, okay, that we all know and love. So through monthly subscriptions, as well as simple participation and activity, you can also receive daily rewards, whether you're storing your photos in Cirrus Safe, whether you're streaming movies, whether you're using your cell phone, whether you're traveling, whether you're purchasing with our AI-powered discount program, card program, or hosting meetings with Meetin. All these things and so many more things that are coming are ways that people can just participate and also earn daily rewards. Okay, now the final piece is then promotion. Okay, and this is all about what we like to call relationship marketing. So a Gnodi member can choose to earn even more through or as a Cirrus Networks affiliate or associate. Okay, so when a customer makes a purchase, whether a node or a service, the person, the affiliate or associate who invited them to the community not only earns extra rewards for that, for the referral, but they also earn commissions in dollars. Okay, so why is this so important? Well, word of mouth marketing is the most powerful way. Okay. You just think about it for a second. If you saw a commercial, right, on the TV, or you heard something on the radio, or you saw a billboard or whatever, right, you might think, oh, okay, that's interesting. But you may have to see it, 100 times before you actually decide, well, maybe, okay, yeah, that would be good. But if your friend or a family member that you know and you trust and you like them, and they come and they say, hey, you know what? This product is amazing. This thing really works. Then the likelihood that you're actually going to go buy that product or service increases 100-fold, right? Just like referring a movie. If you see, okay, on Rotten Tomatoes, the movie, it got 88%, whatever, it's not, it's fresh, it's not rotten. Okay, well, that sounds good. Maybe I'll go watch that movie. It sounds like something I could do. But then if your friend comes to you and says, oh my gosh, have you seen this movie? It's so amazing. You have to see it. Come on. What are you going to do? You're going to go see the movie, like, as soon as you can, right? Because your friend told you about it and you want to be part of that. Okay. And that's what companies have finally figured out. 88% of consumers trust personal recommendations the most. Okay. 61% of consumers recommend trusted businesses. And even 36% of US internet users say word of mouth is their top source for discovering brands. And in the younger generation now, 25% of Gen Z consumers discover new brands, products, and services through word of mouth. Okay. So word of mouth, it remains the most trusted recommendation source on the planet. Personal recommendations hold more weight than any other form of marketing, driving consumer trust and decisions. So we get to be a part of that. In Cirrus Networks, it's our privilege to be able to go and share the story of these amazing SaaS products, of the amazing concept of having ownership and the benefits of having daily rewards, all those things. It's so fun. Okay. So how do we get our rewards and our earnings from word of mouth, telling people about it? Well, we have two things. We have two wallets. We have our Voltix wallet, which is where our daily rewards show up. Okay. And then we also have our commission wallet, which is where they pay us weekly and monthly to the dollars for the recommended purchases from customers that use, whether it's Meetin, whether it's buying a node, whatever. In the future, when we have other things like the card product, all those commissions will then get paid right into our e-wallet so we can cash them out. Okay, so timing is everything. This is the point that's most important of all, is that blockchain is moving from speculation to adoption, and Gnodi is already live and ready to go. The United States is emerging as the global hub for blockchain innovation, and Gnodi is at the forefront. We're just getting started with this, okay? Early adopters of the internet, of crypto, of Amazon and others, they didn't just participate, they owned the infrastructure. That's why we're so adamant about talking about ownership, because that's where the most success can be had. This is that kind of moment. This isn't just about being early, it's about owning the system that others will soon rely on, because it really is truly happening. You can see some graph stuff here. United States #4 now, where grassroots crypto adoption is the highest in the world, right? Behind India, Nigeria, and Vietnam, of all places. Interesting. You can see that crypto adoption has grown 2,300% since 2019. And you can see where it's going, right? By 2032, we'll be 198 billion in blockchain technology shares. It's huge, 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 huge. So my friends, we are at the right place at the right time. So pick where you want to be involved, whether that's an owner, whether it's just as a participant, as an influencer, right? With word of mouth, Cirrus, either way, we're at the right time. We're going to have some success. So that